Good evening and welcome again to Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. And regular viewers of the show will know that sometimes we go off a little bit on an edge, and we've had people on this show who have talked about alternative medicine and alternative ways of looking at things. And tonight, I'd like to welcome another guest to the show who is a practitioner of alternative medicine.
Yes, I am.
Cathy Baldwin, Cat Baldwin, the founder and head honcho at the Wellness Sanctuary.
Yes, sir.
Cat, good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
So to jump right in, I know what you talk about on your website and in your book is a thing called Chios Energy Healing.
Mm.
So let's start there.
Okay.
What is that, and why do we care?
Did you ever hear of Reiki?
Yes, but I couldn't tell you what it is. I just know the name.
Okay. Chios Energy Healing is, we're addressing the spirit body. We're addressing the chakras.
Now, spirit body, those are like contradictory things, right? So you just mash them together into one.
Spirit body. You have your physical body and you have your spiritual body, right? You have a spirit body that's got chakras that are energy centers.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see them. And you have an auric field. There's 10 feet of an auric field around your body. Everybody has it. It's an energy field. So when we work in Chios, we're looking at clearing, cleaning, charging chakras, the chakra system. Every chakra encompasses many, many organs that actually...
Now, what exactly is a chakra?
What's a chakra? Is an energy center.
And so in your body, you have these different energy centers.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And if you didn't have them, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, you wouldn't be alive.
No.
Um,
So what happens is when people do not do work to release emotional trauma or emotional harm, or they don't clean and clear their chakra centers every day, there's energetic defects that happen. The chakras, if one of them is affected negatively, they spin, okay? If one's affected, all 7 of them are affected. And in essence, what will happen is there will actually be a physical disease or breakdown in the body.
So how does one clean a chakra?
How does one clean a chakra? The best way to possibly do that is you need to learn visualization of what each chakra is, the color of that chakra, and in quiet meditation you spin them opposite the direction they normally spin.
And how does one spin a chakra?
You gotta visualize it. Counterclockwise, if you're cleaning. And
Okay.
then to bring them back into alignment, you would do it clockwise. You'd bring them back into alignment. But it's part of a meditation and a visualization. So when we do Chios, basically what we're doing is we're in the chakra system, hands-on, running energy.
Oh, well, I see, this is all new to me. So like every
Cosmic
phrase
universal
that
energy.
you use
Okay, here.
sparks. So when you say you're running energy,
Here's how you're going to
How
get
does
this
that
best, okay?
work?
I am actually a vibrational frequency practitioner. Everything is energy. I'm sure you know that scientifically,
Yeah,
right?
right.
We're energy. We're all energy.
The universe, in fact, is
Everything.
composed of energy.
Yes. So your energy system, your body, even every organ vibrates at a different frequency. When there's a harm or there's whatever may happen, whether it's physical, emotional, thought patterns, when there's a harm that's done, a particular organ can go out of vibrational frequency of where it's supposed to be.
So it's like, I mean, somewhat like a heart arrhythmia where it's out of rhythm. So is this vibrational imbalance?
Vibrationally, yes. It's a
Similar
vibrational
thing?
imbalance, yes. Okay? So your whole body system on average is like 68 megahertz on a whole, right? Death starts to occur when your body goes to 25 megahertz. That's when your body starts to shut down. So Chios is part of vibrational healing. We're going into those chakra centers. We're feeling myself, I had shared with you, and probably there's a lot of people that are familiar with this. I am an intuitive. I am a channel. So when we say vibrational medicine and we say energy healing, before we start a Chios treatment, we call in the pure consciousness and source energy.
Of what? the source energy from like the universe? I mean, is that
Sure.
what? Okay.
Pranic energy. You probably heard of prana. You probably heard of chi because you have friends that are acupuncturists, right? And
Right.
teach yoga.
Right.
Okay. So we're pulling in that pranic chi energy, that source conscious, the pure consciousness, into our bodies and down into our hands. And then we put our hands on people and we're connecting to their energy field. We're connecting to the auric field. We're connecting to the chakra system. And being an intuitive and being a channel, when I have my hands on somebody's chakras, I will hear if there's been an emotional harm there.
How do you hear that?
It just comes in.
No, I mean, what is it that you actually hear?
In my opinion, I hear spirit talking to me.
And these are words, or they're
Yes.
like musical sounds,
Just
or
as if somebody was standing next to me. It
telling
comes
you
in loud and clear.
a story?
Yeah.
So
What's going on in that chakra? What happened to that person?
So, I mean, I have not been divorced, but if I had been divorced, which is from people I know who've been through it, is a traumatic experience, and you were doing energy healing on me, by doing this, you would hear in your head someone saying, oh, Kevin's been through a nasty divorce.
If it's affecting you emotionally and mentally, it's affecting your spiritual body. So, of course, I'd be able to read it in your chakra system. Yeah.
Astonishing. Do you ever get it wrong? Do you ever read something that's not there?
Because it's not me.
Ah.
And I know people think that's really odd, but I've been an intuitive channel for a very, very long time, and people ask me, how do I do that? How does that happen? Okay. I've been a vegetarian for 10 years. I've used essential oils for 10 years. There's certain things that we do, people who are in vibrational medicine or people who want to raise their vibrational frequency. When you do this, when you raise your vibrational frequency as a spirit in a physical body, you hear because your vibration is higher than most people. So the entities that are at a higher vibration, it's easy for us to hear that.
And when you talk about the entities who are at a higher vibration, what are these entities?
Ascended masters, we call them ascended masters, archangels, which I know everybody's heard of the archangels, right? Archangel Michael.
Right.
Ascended masters, for the most part, are formerly human beings that have led lives here and contributed in service to humanity and have passed over. Okay? So it's a matter of whether or not you believe in reincarnation too. Because once you die, you just go back to being spiritual energy out in the cosmos, right?
I'll take your word for it. I'm not sure any of us really knows what happens. No one's ever come back to tell us. So
I don't know. Just give ancient aliens enough time, they'll figure it out. Because they're getting pretty close to a lot of stuff that those guys are figuring out. The ancient, you know what I'm talking about, that show? You ever watch it?
Ancient Aliens?
Yeah.
No, that's a TV
It's
show?
fabulous. You got to watch it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
They're figuring out a lot of sacred things and finding a lot of sacred things. It's our belief, those of us that are on a spiritual path, it's not just our belief, it's our experience. If we're all spirit in a physical body, if we were spirit in the cosmos and we chose to come down here and take physical form for whatever reason, lessons we wanted to learn, things we didn't complete in a past lifetime, which is usually why we come back here. So when we, in my opinion, my way of putting it is when we roll out of our skin and go back to where we came from, you just become an energy ball again, right? We're all energy. We just took physical form to be here, and then when you die, your spirit returns.
It reminds me of my favorite theory of the afterlife. And of course, since, as I say, no one's come back to report on it yet that we know of, you know, it's all kind of arbitrary, but the one I like, and I think, I'm not sure if this is a Zen concept or not, but it's our energy goes back up into the energy
Cosmos,
sphere.
right? Yeah.
And we meet each other as energy spheres, and we arrange that we're going to meet each other again in the next life.
Agreed.
Because we want to teach each other something. It's like,
Yes.
well, I'll meet you because I think there's something I need to learn from you,
Yes.
And hopefully there's something you can learn from me, and so we'll arrange to meet in this next life.
Agreed.
And I just love that concept. It's just so appealing.
That reminds me of something. It's funny that you're talking about that. It's called pre-birth planning, and it's very difficult. I do something called forgiveness workshop from your higher self and spirit, and that's a different way of forgiving, not from ego, but from your higher self, okay? In my opinion and in my experience, and there's been other channelers, there's specific channelers and mediums that are able to actually go back to when you were having a planning session as a spirit. You'll be surrounded by what we call your soul group. And these are people that reincarnate in all different positions, in all different lifetimes, to do exactly what you just said, okay? So you may ask one of them, I need you to do this for me when we go down
Meet
to
each other
Earth,
again.
right? Because I need to learn this lesson. And that person will agree to do that for you, okay? And I think that's just something that I think we choose whether we're going to come back here, lifetime after lifetime, depending on what we want to accomplish.
So
Yeah.
there's a question I always ponder when we talk about reincarnation and people coming back. You know, the population of humans on the planet has increased steadily over the millennia. So how are new humans created, especially if there are old ones coming back?
You mean like new souls that
new
have never
souls.
been here before?
Right. How do those happen?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Subject for another show, some other time.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I oftentimes wonder that too. I think we're all out in the cosmos as an energy, and maybe some of us, like myself, I think I've been here over 1,000 times. I've had over 1,000 lifetimes. And I have recall of a lot of them. Okay, I can remember them.
That's a lot to remember. 1,000. Don't you ever
get
get confused which life was which?
I can remember 6 lifetimes in Egypt. I can remember an Atlantis lifetime. I can remember being a Native American, a Navajo.
So where was Atlantis? There's great speculation about
You know,
where it really was.
I'm not sure about that either. I have a lot of recall about what happened there and what I did there, but I have no recall as to where it was
Sort of
exactly.
geographically where it was.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of controversy. You can really get into an amazing conversation about pre-birth planning. And when we were talking, when I was telling you about forgiveness workshop, it's very difficult when somebody's had a very traumatic incident happen, whether it's abuse, emotionally or physically or sexually, to actually have to consider that they may have wanted that to happen in this lifetime for a particular reason.
And explain that a little bit. I mean, why would someone want to experience something like that?
A lot of times I think that what happens with that is the soul agrees to come here to clear the lineage of their ancestors where that abuse has gone on for 14 generations back. When they come in and they no longer tolerate that, or they become a counselor for domestic violence, or they have a recall and they go through all the healing process of healing that themselves so they can be in that position for other people. A lot of people come here to do that out of service. They want to serve humanity from that level of consciousness, and the greatest way to do that is through experience, right?
Okay, so they choose to be in a situation where something bad will happen to them because they need to understand what that is in order to create the empathy that they're trying to gain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then some people also choose that too, because when we take physical form, a lot of us who chose to come back here, we have to experience duality. And Earth is the perfect school for duality. So if you come from the cosmos that's all love, how are you going to really know and experience love unless you experience the opposite? So a lot of us have come here and we all have the experience of duality here, right? Good, bad, right, wrong, black, white. That's what we do here. We judge everything, right? So some people come here for that experience too. There's a lot of reasons people choose to take physical form again, you know?
But in your understanding of the cosmos, but it's a conscious decision. Yeah,
I believe
while
it
you're in
is.
this energy state that
I believe
I could
it
come
is.
back or not, or I might come back. Now, can you can you come back in a previous time, or is time linear?
I don't think you can come back in a previous time because time really doesn't exist. That's a man-made creation.
As Einstein described it, as time is the thing that is measured by clocks.
Exactly, because we're eternal beings, right?
Well, in his understanding of the universe, relativity, time is relative.
Yeah.
Right. There's no such thing as absolute time.
Exactly.
Right.
See?
So, I mean, that's even Einstein himself came up with that concept, and now it's an accepted fact.
See, people sometimes they look at me and I'm like, look, all of this is a scientific fact. It's a fact that we're vibrational creatures. It's a fact that everything is energy. Everything, even if it's a solid chair, it's an energy.
Now, coming back to the vibrational, I'm curious. So, would you say 68 megahertz is the
Normal is
normal?
the average of your entire body.
So how do you measure that? I mean, if I were to come to you as a client, how would you measure my vibrational energy?
Have you ever heard of Dr. Royal Rife?
No.
Dr. Royal Rife in the 1930s is like the founder of vibrational medicine, and he created the Rife system to measure vibrational frequency, and he had a 100% cure rate for cancer in the 1930s.
But I mean, how did he do? I mean, what instrument measures
I
vibrational?
don't know. The government came in and destroyed all of his equipment. We have Rife machines now, again, that I'm not exactly sure how they measure the average vibration, but there are machines that average where your body's at this particular time. I do Rife treatments, but I have a computer program that, let's say you came to me and you're like, I have chronic migraines. I would look on my system where migraines was, and this is a Rife sequence of 23 different tones that bring you back into vibrational frequency of where you need to be. And I use it for all kinds of stuff.
How do you produce the tones?
It's already pre-programmed.
Oh, so and the computer will just.
They're all Rife frequencies. I have over 1,200 different things on there that are pre-programmed with usually a 23 segment frequency for healing.
So how long is each tone in this 23 tone
It's all
sequence?
different. It's different for whatever we're treating. Some treatments can only be 3 minutes. Some of them are an hour and a half long. It depends on what's in the system. But I mean, there's over, in that 1,200 system that I have of 1,200 illnesses, there's over 40 of them for cancer.
Well, I've had close family members and friends who have had bouts with cancer. Some have died. And it's always been my belief from my experience there that the cancer is an imbalance. It's not a foreign agent. It's not a pathogen that has invaded you. I mean, some things can kick it off. Asbestos can create it. I mean, there are things that do that. But essentially, it's your own body rebelling or essentially spinning out of balance. And that the cures for cancer, to my mind, would have to be this reorientation of your body instead of chemotherapy, which is like nuclear warfare.
Yes, agreed. Big time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me segue from that. I know in your book you talked about a very physically traumatic event of yourself, getting in a serious car accident that destroyed your car and nearly destroyed you.
Yeah.
How were you able to use the techniques that you have learned and practiced
Oh my gosh,
to bring
it
yourself
saved
through?
my life, honest to God. I think one of the biggest things that people need to understand is that if you can start to eat healthy, get good nutrition, and take care of your body physically, which I started probably doing about 30 years ago, and like I said, I've been a vegetarian for 10. That makes an extremely huge amount of difference in how quickly you're going to heal your physical body.
And so this would include exercise, proper sleep, proper nutrition, all of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was one of the things, the pluses that I had, because I was 56 years old when it'll be 5 years in February. And I had 5 back fractures. I had 2 in my sacral, 3 in my spine. I had a head injury that I had 4 stitches by my brain, 23 on the top of my head.
Oof.
Very, very grateful that I have no memory of it. I must have gone unconscious immediately. So I was grateful for that. Mind you, somebody who is an energy healer and somebody who is a high frequency person, to be inside of a hospital for 32 days, I went to some dark places. The slow energy, okay? There's death going on there, there's illness going on there, there's medications that have adverse side effects. We're all aware of that by the TV commercials, okay? Because they're synthetic, and we're putting synthetic in our bodies. It's not,
Yeah.
that's why we get side effects.
No, I've had my own journey through the medical industrial complex, so I'm
Yeah.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had me on 5 pain pills, and I was going into a deep depression. I couldn't even do my rehab. And I only did 2 weeks of rehab, believe it or not.
Yeah, I have to say, though, seeing you now and having met you before the show and seeing how you move, I would never guess that
I
you'd
know,
been
I'm
through
blessed. I'm telling you, I'm so blessed.
such a physically traumatic event.
So I used essential oils. After I got out of the hospital environment and got into my own home, I used something called an earth mat, which has 83 crystals and 83 different essential oils in it, and I kept that on my back, strapped to my back. I did energy work on, Chios energy work on myself. I used essential oils on myself. I did a lot of meditation, visualization of healing, and positive affirmations, which are extremely important. Because we were talking before, this is where I think I differ a little bit at my place. When somebody comes to me, I look at healing on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Because those 4 are the legs of the stool. And if they're not all addressed, someone is not going to have a complete healing. It's just like we were talking about medicine. It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not getting down to the core, deep issue of what's going on that somebody manifested in illness, whatever it may be.
And this is the connection we were talking about before the show, that emotional or psychological trauma creates physical illness.
Absolutely.
Right? These are linked.
Absolutely.
And that I know in Chinese medicine, which, as you know, I have friends who practice this, there are actually specific outcomes, like certain types of cancer are due to certain types of emotional trauma.
Exactly.
And this is how it manifests itself.
Yes.
And I've even worked with colleagues who will say that, an older gentleman I used to work with who had retired and said, you know, Kevin, he says, I know these guys, and they're miserable. They don't like their wives, or they don't like their job, or he says, they retire and they're miserable, and he says, and they die.
They want out.
Yeah, well, because they've sapped themselves of energy.
Exactly.
And so this particular person who had kind of the opposite, he was, very, very vibrant, well into his late 70s, which is the last time I ran into him. But it's that idea that you're linked. If you're unhappy, you're not going to be healthy.
If you're unhappy, you're lowering your frequency. If you have every negative thought that you have throughout the day lowers your frequency by 10 megahertz.
Ooh, doesn't take
Okay.
many before you hit the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why people get as sick. That's probably why we have the incidence of cancer and heart disease that we have in this country. Think about this, okay? Does it not make sense to you, the level of heart disease, if people have gone through excessive emotional trauma that was heartbreaking,
Yeah.
why would that not manifest in heart disease? It's never been cleared. They've never cleared it out of their bodies. They've never cleared it out of their being and how they're feeling about themselves and what they say to themselves. You can raise your frequency by 15 megahertz just sitting in meditation and saying positive affirmations for 10 minutes.
And give me an example of a positive affirmation that one might say.
I love and approve of myself. My biggest thing with most people that I encounter almost every day in my practice is people do not love themselves. There's so much negative programming from their childhoods and expectations of them that they feel have gone unfulfilled, that they actually think is the truth about who they are.
So they think they're a loser,
Yeah.
when in fact they're not looking at the things that they have done, the positive contributions that they've made.
Mhm.
So it's a reorientation. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't change the facts of one's life, but you can change the interpretation completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what people deal with is programming and social agreement and what we think is expected of us, and if we don't do it, how we judge ourselves based on society, and none of it's important.
Before we run out of time, I want to make sure we get your website up,
Oh, okay.
the Wellness Sanctuary. So we're going to try and see if we can put that up here, and then people can see what it is, and they can then, as they're listening to this and thinking, wow, this is fascinating, I have to go see Cat.
That's what everybody says.
Right.
This is fascinating. You're
'cause-
such a fascinating person. I'm like, I don't know. This is just what I know. You know?
So let me come back to something we talked about earlier. Being an intuitive and a channeler, what are you channeling?
What am I channeling?
Yeah,
I'm
when you
channeling
channel.
those ascended masters that have passed over, that are just what everybody needs to know is, and this is something else that I connect you to when you come to me, is you all have 3 ascended masters and 3 archangels with you.
Everyone has 3 and 3.
And some of your ancestors and some spirit guides and some sprites and fairies, for all I know. I just know about the ascended masters and the archangels. When you made that blueprint we were talking about before you
Right.
came here,
Right, before
they
being
were
born.
all there with you.
Helping you plan that out.
Yes. So they all came down here with you, but until you create a consciousness that they're here, and I usually am able to connect people to who's with them, I can tell them who's around them, so that they can start to have a relationship with Spirit and ask for help and guidance. But you have to ask. They're not allowed to just interfere with you because you have free will as a human being.
Well, you know, I'm sure you know this is a common element in, I think, probably all religions, certainly Western religions. And it's, you know, reaching out to God in that case. You know, you have to ask for God's help, and God will help you. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. Or some of my friends who are much more secular will talk about reaching out to the universe. Said, but you've got to put yourself out there. You got to go connect it and try to find that energy that's out there to come in. And if you put yourself out, you'll find it and it'll come back and help you. So that sounds like a very similar concept here, right?
Yeah, I think so. But just think about it. If we all, when we pass away, if we all go back to the energy that we were without a body, right? Why wouldn't ascended masters do the same thing? And these are people that had human lives here, that were very accomplished, that served humanity at a very high level. So why would they not want to assist those of us who are in the body now in the same way?
Well, speaking of assisting, and now we're out of time,
Oh,
and so we're
okay.
going to have to assist each other later. Kat, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you
You
so much
too.
for coming on the show, and I
Thank
hope
you
you'll
for having me.
hope you'll come back sometime.
I would love to. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us once again on Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. You can see us every Saturday night at 8 on Comcast Channel 19, or find us on the web at publicperspective.tv. So till next time, thank you and good night.